Because even when you were a mother, you keep bringing up your story as if is the same for everybody. Do you really think that every EAC was SA? You still are talking about you, not asking about you. You are assuming a case including an imaginary abuser stepdad. I'm asking about her question, which is about her. She's saying that her mother was telling her to cover up, which is the contrary to your case. Can you answer without bias? What would you say to your daughter if you think that she was wearing something inappropriate? I'm sorry for your experience, but I think that you need to talk about the issue of her comment, which was about a mother asking her daughter to cover up in front of her stepfather, which is the contrary of what happened to you. I think it's a very important topic to be addressed because many mothers of EAC are divorced, and this situation and confusion about their mother's behavior may happen a lot with young girls with very protective mothers. Can you see the issue from the other side of the story?
Okay, so first of all, it wasn't an imaginary, sorry. I'm looking because I think I have, yeah, bleach. Anyway, I'm very snarky, sparky today. I'm going to warn you right now. That being said, and I'm not triggered by you or your comments, and I'm emotionally fine, and it's all good in the hood. I'm just feeling a little spicy. It was not about an imaginary stepfather. She asked about my stepfather. She asked about my mother, whether or not she was jealous of me. It's right there in the comment. I don't, look, here's the comment, right? There's the comment. So it wasn't an imaginary situation. Maybe you were asking about an imaginary situation, but it was not about an imaginary situation. And so when I first read your comment, I answered accordingly. And apparently you don't like that I made it about me. Well, I'm sharing my life experiences. That's kind of what my platform is about. Who would you like me to make it about? And then let's see, you did say something, because now you do want me to make it about me, because you say, what would you say to your daughter if you think that she was wearing something inappropriate? And can I answer, without bias? So what do you want? Do you want my personal experience, what I might or might not do? Because that's going to come with some sort of bias. Because how I parent my daughters and my son, they are adults now, how I parented, let me backtrack, might be different from how somebody else does, and it likely is. I will tell you something, though, that I'm catching in some of your language. I think what you're trying to get me to do is agree with you so that you can hide protective behavior behind your controlling behavior. That's what I think is happening. And I just base that on watching some of your content because you're really disempowering yourself by blaming estrangement on it being a trend and it's the internet's fault and that sort of thing. And by the way, like a trend is just a result of something. Like it's not cause and effect, right? Something being up on the uptick isn't about the cause of the problem. It's an observation that something is growing. And like along your lines, I must be a real trendsetter because I want no contact before the internet even existed. Anywho, I only make the point about trend to give people an insight as to what your lens looks like as opposed to my lens, right? And making it about me and my channel over here, because it is my channel. I am an adult estranged child of over 30 years, and I was an estranged parent 20 years ago who's repaired her relationship with her daughter. So, and I have 3 children, by the way, and we've been amazing and solid, and we all have very good, strong, healthy relationships because I don't blame something outside of myself for how things turned out. And I understand finding comfort in that maybe for a millisecond, but at the end of the day, all you're doing is really disempowering yourself and denying yourself the opportunity to grow and change and heal. That's all that's really happening here. Because likely your adult child has done the things that they need to do based on the fact that they separated from the source of their pain to live a better life for themselves. And you could do the same. Just saying. All this to be said, what would I say to my daughter if I thought she was wearing something inappropriate? Go change? Go change. That's what I would say to my daughter. That being said, if I felt that somebody was living in my household or had access to my children that was looking at them in a sexualized way, I'm not holding my child accountable for the disgusting and reprehensible behavior of an adult. And that was my point in my last video. And just a little funny story. Well, I think it's kind of funny now. And my daughter thinks it's funny now. So therefore it is funny now. My youngest had a really good friend, well, they're still friends, that she grew up with from the time that she was in like kindergarten. And there was a day where they were playing together and my daughter borrowed clothing from this little girl. And in our household, my girls were not allowed to run around in like workout clothes, like, you know, the little spandex shorts and the, actually I'm wearing one now, the sports bras kind of thing, unless like we were at the gym, for example, or if they were at dance practice and they were in, you know, whatever it was that was appropriate for dance practice. My daughter twirled baton, that sort of thing. You know, there's appropriate clothing for appropriate situations. And I'm driving my car and just going down the street, and I thought, you know, I'll just take a drive by like where my little girl was playing, the house that she was playing at. There was a little grassy area in front of the house that the girls played in often, and I would just drive by and like say a little hello. We only lived a street over, and I was already in the car. And as I'm driving up, I see my daughter stop, freeze, deer in headlights. You know why? Because she was wearing a sports bra and the little workout shorts playing in front of the house, and she knew that wasn't appropriate right off the bat. Did I ground her? No. Did I talk to her about it? Of course I did. Like, you already know that that's not the standard in our household, and you know why. Please don't do that again. And I'm pretty sure it was the last time based on what my daughter has said since. Go change. That's it. That's all. Does that answer your question to your satisfaction? I hope so. All this to be said, I'm going to go ahead for context of everybody out there who's wondering, you know, what's going on that I've interacted with you in 2 different videos now to see why it is I'm responding to you. There are estranged parents out there who look at life through the lens that you're looking at it through, and they see somebody like you creating content and giving them a way out of taking accountability because it feels better in the moment. And I'm working against messaging like yours because I actually do want to see people repair their relationships wherever it's possible. That's all. So that's why I'm interacting with you. Anyway, here we go. Let's get into the rest of your comments from this year, because I'm not going to go back in, you know, back in time. But this is not our first rodeo. Have a nice day. I hope that you find the healing that will help you to open up your horizons and stop disempowering yourself. Oh, and by the way, before I feature your comments, this comment that you made was on a video, and I'm going to include the link to the video in the comment section of this video. It was on a video where a mother is talking about how she kicked her mentally ill 12-year-old out of the house, and she's doing so with pride in front of her 4-year-old daughter. And I'm exposing the triangulation that she's creating and the division in the relationships between her own children that she's creating in that video. And so your comment is so incredibly off the mark, has nothing to do with the video whatsoever. I'm not even talking about estrangement in that video. I'm giving an example of what it looks like when we lose our siblings to the other parent because of the lens that they have grown up seeing us through. So I guess in that regard, I talked about estrangement. But your comment is so off the mark and so out of place, and really exposes your tunnel vision and bias. Sadly, no contact has become 100% a trend encouraged by influencers and therapists in individual therapy who are unable to see the other side of the story. It's a lose-lose strategy. Nobody heals. There's a difference of results in conflict resolution when people go to individual therapy or to family therapy. The probability that you will cut the relationship with individual to therapy is higher because that type of therapy encourages individualism. So we shouldn't go to individual therapy? How's that working for you? And you responded to somebody else's comment, which I'm not going to feature right now. It's just you doubling down. So it's not necessary. I mean, I'll put it in print. That's fine. Or maybe they are going no contact because of the trend. Did you understand why your mother behaved like she did? Did she have a mental health problem or a story of abuse? I think that to be able to heal, we need to understand the story behind the abuse. In my point of view, healing isn't justifying, but understanding, seeing the other person from another perspective. What do you think? And just to wrap things up, I thought I was already done, but then I read that last comment. Understanding that my mother went through abuse actually made the situation worse for me, not better, in terms of my own healing journey. Because I couldn't understand, I cannot understand, I will never understand, it will never make sense that she knew what it was like to go through the pain she went through, and she chose to perpetrate that against me as well. It doesn't help. It's not healing. I think what you're looking for is some sort of compassion or empathy or understanding for her of, oh, she went through all that. She didn't know any better. I went through all that, and whatever she put me through, I lived with her parents, by the way. I went through what she went through, I think she went through with my grandfather and grandmother, right? And I did everything I could possibly do to make sure that my children never experienced the things that I experienced. She chose her path and I chose mine. There are plenty of people out there with mental health conditions that don't abuse other people. Let's not stigmatize somebody who has a mental illness with not being able to control how they treat others, right? Because there's plenty of people out there who manage quite well. And then there's people who don't work to manage quite well. My mother knew how to behave in public. She knew what a good mother looked like. And behind closed doors, or when the lights dimmed, or we weren't on stage, there were no witnesses, she behaved contrary to what she did in public. She knew right from wrong and didn't choose to do any better. Where I have figured out and where I have healed from knowing what she likely went through is understanding that the person that she chooses to be never had anything to do with me. That's where true healing comes from. I wish you well.